Hello and welcome to Congressional Convos. My name is Kent Strang. I'm the Managing Director for Americans for Prosperity. Today, we're going to discuss an incredibly important topic, which is the Biden administration's top-down executive overreach as it relates to his COVID-19 mandate. We'll also discuss the effort in Congress to overturn this damaging order through the Congressional Review Act and how you can help from home. Today, I'm joined by Americans for Prosperity Pennsylvania State Director, Ashley Klingensmith, who's going to introduce us to our special guest. Ashley?
Oh, Ken, thank you so much. As you can see, joining you from the road, as is so often the case in our state chapters across the nation. But hey, this is what grassroots looks like in action, and it has proven to be such a force this year. We have had literally thousands of events, millions of actions taken on federal issues this year, like stopping the spending spree. Our activists have left nothing on the table, and I'm so glad we're going to give them this one kind of final opportunity to make their voice heard on this incredibly dangerous threat from the Biden administration. But I am elated to introduce a longtime AFP Pennsylvania champion, Congressman Fred Keller. He first served the people of Pennsylvania in our state house. He was there for 4 terms and is now serving his first, I believe, full term in Congress. He represents the 12th congressional district. He has just, as I said, been a champion for so many issues, that our activists hold dear. That's everything from the suite of economic opportunity issues that we work on, all the way to championing some great healthcare reforms, including authoring the Nonpartisan Nurses Care Act. So we are so grateful to have him in our congressional delegation in Washington. So Ken, I'm going to kick it back to you for the first question, but thank you, Congressman, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Congressman, thanks again for being here. We appreciate it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about President Biden's COVID-19 mandate through executive order, and what does it require of businesses and employers throughout the country?
Yeah, what the president did, as we all know, and as he's done many times, is oversteps his authority. And this is the latest thing here when we're talking about American liberties, is the fact that he's having OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, he's having them have employers who have 100 or more employees institute a mandatory vaccine and requiring employers to either have their employees vaccinated or tested on a weekly basis. This is certainly an overreach of what the federal government should be doing. And this isn't about whether somebody should or shouldn't be vaccinated. This is about whether or not the government can tell you to do it and force you to do it. And quite frankly, the way I look at it, badger you to do it through testing and other things. And things they don't make clear is who pays for the testing, and all the things that go along with this. And these are the businesses, these are the individuals that throughout our pandemic took care of us, made sure our economy kept going, did all the things that we need during the pandemic, and prior to that, built the greatest economy the world had ever seen. So the president wants to, because he doesn't think people are getting vaccinated quickly enough, and he wants to impose this upon people. He thinks that that his administration has the authority to force employers to make their employees get vaccinated.
Yeah, what you just shared should cause us all watching and tuning in and listening pause. I know, speaking from a Keystone State resident perspective, throughout COVID, our Commonwealth has really faced some of, I think, the most extreme kind of government restrictions. I think of that one so obvious example of shutting down all public and private construction sites. We were the only state to do that. And all of those decisions have not been without consequence. As of December 17th, our 5.7% unemployment rate is tied with Illinois for the 7th worst rate among the 50 states and DC, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Multistate.us has a ranking system designed to measure kind of how open for business is each state. And PA is tied with 11 other states for the 2nd worst level of openness. And so PA has kind of felt the overreach from Harrisburg. You mentioned you do think this is overreach from Washington. Are you hearing from constituents about this? Are you hearing from folks? There was such a fever pitch in Harrisburg. I'm curious if that's
Absolutely.
happening in DC.
Absolutely. We're hearing from people across Pennsylvania's 12th congressional district. And quite frankly, let's just take a look at what this does. The courts, the Fifth Circuit has already said, there's cases, they ordered a stay. The Sixth Circuit has taken some things here as of the end of December. But keep in mind, if you look at some of the filings and some of the things they want to do at OSHA, if they get this done, and they can somehow do this, they want to go after employers with fewer than 100 employees. So they're coming after every American. Make no mistake about it. They want to impose what they think you should do upon you. And a lot of times they forget who works for whom. I work for the people of PA-12. The people in government work for the American citizens because we are your government. And so this doesn't stop at just, if we don't defeat this now, either in the courts or in Congress or both, it could be coming to smaller employers and likely will. And that's why this is so important. The Congressional Review Act has been used. It came about in about 1996, and it's used to strike down regulations that quite frankly shouldn't be put there. And we've had 17 since then. We have 17 regulations that have been taken down through the Congressional Review Act. The important part of this is working with Senator Braun. This came out of the Senate, bipartisan. 52 senators voted, including Senator Manchin and Tester. So when you look at this, and we've got every Republican in the House on this, and we've had some constructive dialogue with some congressional Democrats, and we're continuing to do that. We have 30 days from the time we introduce this until we can bring it for a discharge petition. And that puts us about the middle to end of January. It's in the courts, and we want to make sure the courts are doing what they need to do, but we don't want to leave any stone unturned. So we've done this. We had to wait to introduce this till they came out with the rule in the beginning of November, and that's why we're on the schedule we're on. But as soon as we could get it introduced, we did. We worked to get people supporting it from all across the country. And you look at the organizations that are supporting this. It's not just business organizations, it's labor organizations, it's the American people don't want this, nor should they have it thrust upon them. And we are definitely standing up for the constitutional rights of every American.
Congressman, for those of you watching, we want to be able to help support your effort, and we'll put in a link into the chat of where folks can take an action through our platform called iVolunteers, where they can send a letter to their member of Congress urging them to support the CRA on this particular mandate. And what else helps? So for those folks who are sitting at home and watching us and saying, yeah, I'm one person, how do I take action? How can I make my voice heard among my member of Congress and encourage them to do the right thing here? What are some of the things that you hear from and that you think is the most impactful for folks to take action and make their voice heard in Congress?
Well, I thank you for actually asking that, and for the work that you're doing to help with the grassroots. And the point you make is have your voice heard with your member of Congress. And actually, you look at some states, and here's an important part that I think gets left out of the discussion a lot of times when people are reporting on this, is there's two governors, Michigan and Kansas, Democrat governors, who have opposed the vaccine mandate. So I would particularly say if you have people in Michigan and you have people in Kansas that have Democrat members of Congress that have not supported this, I would have them reach out, because their governors have come out against the vaccine mandate. So I think that's an important thing. And so this is not like this is not a right or left issue. It's right or wrong. And quite frankly, the Biden administration is on the wrong side of this. So one important way, as you mentioned, is to reach out to your member of Congress and say, hey, we've got this. It's HJ Res 65 in the House. And it's the Congressional Review Act to formally disapprove and nullify the Biden administration's vaccine mandate for businesses. Make sure that everybody understands what it is. and how we get this across the finish line. And like I said, it's been very successful. I mean, there's not a lot of things where you can say you get it out of the Senate, bipartisan, and you get in the House, and we're starting out now, very quickly getting every Republican member on this. So, and then also having interest shown from the Democrats. But it's that, and particularly if you have members that are in the districts of leadership in the House, it'd be helpful to put a little bit of pressure on them and make sure.
I so appreciate that, Congressman. And I want to direct everyone watching and listening right now to take action. We have put the direct link into the chat, but I just want to say, for those maybe listening, if you're on the road, visit americansforprosperity.org. There is a huge central link right there on our main website that says take action. And when you click that link, it's going to direct you to our action center, which is called our I Volunteer portal. And in that portal, there are several different avenues that you can utilize to make your voice heard. You can make a quick phone call directly through that portal to your member. You can also send a letter. You can also sign a petition. But right now, what we're asking is that you sign the letter, because we will have a record of that, so we can track just how many contacts go into each office and remind members, which we're trying to do now at the top of each week. Hey, we know, Mr. Congressman, that we have sent hundreds of letters into your office. In fact, it's 359 or however many we have that given week, to let you know that we want you to support this. And so it is so important that you do that. It literally takes under 30 seconds. When you click that take action button and you're directed to our action center, it is the banner call to action there. So you won't have to scroll down and find it. It's right at the top of the page. It is entitled Biden's OSHA executive order is dangerous and must be overturned. It's a very well. Oh, yes, sir.
If I can just jump in, and you maybe talk about what we do here. I would encourage individuals to get a hold of their county officials, their county commissioners.
Okay.
To get a hold of their state officials, particularly where their member of Congress is a Democrat, and say, hey, look, let that elected official at the county or state level, or a mayor, weigh into the member of Congress. Because here's what you look at. If this goes into effect, we're already struggling to have businesses have enough employees. And if businesses cannot succeed, and businesses close due to this, and we've heard that from the restaurants and hospitality industry, a lot, in Pennsylvania, a lot of our school districts get money through property tax. You know what?
That's right.
If we care about making sure in Pennsylvania, I'll just use Pennsylvania, for example, that our schools are funded, we certainly don't want to lose that property tax base. And that's exactly what the implications are going to have. So I think it's very important to make sure that our county, if we live in a city, or if we live in a municipality, here in Pennsylvania, you live in a township or a borough or a city, get a hold of your member, your locally elected official, and have them also voice their support for this thing to oppose the president's vaccine mandate. Because a lot of times, the more activity and the more we can have everybody contacting the members. And I would say even organizations, whether it's the NFIB, National Federation of Independent Business, the local chambers of commerce. If you're a business owner, get a hold of them. I know they're very supportive. They're some of the supporting organizations, but it would not hurt from them to hear from people all across the communities, in America.
Absolutely. I just remind folks as well, like the Congressman said, this letter can easily be shared via email. And so, yes, send that to your 3 board county commissioners, and send that to your mayor, send that to your town council, your county executive, whatever applies in your given state. Their voice is also so important to be heard. But Ken, I'm going to bounce it back to you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Congressman, we know how important this is, but if this effort is not successful, we already have supply chain issues. We already have record inflation since the last 30 years. And this is going to pit employers versus employees who have been trying to stay afloat. What are you hearing from your district of, will this cause further delays in supply chain? Will this have more and more people leave the workforce when we're already bootstrapping it in a lot of places? You see a lot of restaurants that are just down people to provide essential services in other areas. What are you hearing from your district?
We're hearing those exact things. One thing that you want to know if you're in business, and I want to make this perfectly clear. I worked in a factory right out of high school, and I later managed a factory for the company. And I'll tell you what, the owners of that company and managers of that business cared about every employee. They cared about us. They wanted us to come to work. They wanted us to work in a safe environment. They wanted all of that, and employees care about where they work. Okay. And that's a question I asked Secretary Walsh in one of our committees. I said, this is my experience and this is what I believe. Employers care about the safety of the people that work at their business. I said, I know that, I believe it. And I asked him if he believed it. And he said, well, I'd like to. And I said, no, how you answer the question depends how you run the department. You either believe it or you don't. It took me about 4 tries to get him to say that he believed that. So I think he just wanted me to stop asking the question. But having that experience, as a kid right out of high school, working in a factory, and prior to that working, I worked in restaurants, washing dishes and as a short order cook and so on. I knew the people cared about me and they wanted me to be safe. And this is not, they're pitting the employee against the employer to try and get their way. And what's going to happen is we've already seen people that are close to retirement just saying, you know what, I might as well retire now rather than deal with some of these regulations and things that are happening. So you have people leaving the workforce. We have shortages now, and people having a hard time getting employees to work and do things. So it's just really when we're struggling so much now to have this additional burden placed upon the employee and the employer right now is not what we need. These are the same people, by the way, that figured out how to stay safe throughout the pandemic. They figured out how to go to work every day. They figured out how to, they've done the right things. They certainly don't need the federal government. And we can talk about OSHA and whatnot, but you want to talk about workplace safety, okay? You want to talk about vaccines and stuff. The speaker, for her election as speaker, put a plexiglass booth up in the corner of the House chamber, so people with COVID that were COVID positive could come in and vote for her for speaker. Now, she evidently didn't care about the safety of that person, the people that work in the Capitol, because that person had to come through the Capitol to get to that booth and vote. So you know what? The federal government doesn't need to be, and the speaker doesn't need to be lecturing people about how to keep people safe. Our businesses figured out how to do it. And I tell you what, they'd have been in trouble if they'd had somebody COVID positive that they knew was positive coming into work every day and doing something like that. They wouldn't have done it. Finally, they would not have done that. So you know what? Let's let businesses do what they do, and that is produce goods and services and take care of the people that work there. They don't need the federal government that doesn't follow the same rules that they want to try and enforce on other people. So
absolutely. Yep. Going to ask you is the last question here, and then I'm going to turn it to Ken and let both of you gentlemen have the last word. But just want to ask you to read the tea leaves a little bit. There are, you mentioned currently a number of lawsuits challenging this mandate, I think all of which have been consolidated into the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals. Last Friday, that court reinstated the mandate pending a final resolution of the case. Do you think this is ultimately going to go to the Supreme Court?
I would say we've already seen Justice Kavanaugh request documents from the administration regarding this, and I think the date that the Supreme Court put on those documents was December, the end of this month, December 30th, I believe is what it is, as far as them to be able to produce documents. So I do see that there might be some other action, and the U.S. Supreme Court may look at something, putting something in place until this makes it through the court system. You know, the lawsuits that have been filed in the different circuit courts. But you know, I think the fact that there has already been a request from the Supreme Court on documents regarding this from the administration tells me that it's likely going to be some intervention there. Not sure what that looks like, but quite possibly, at least I would hope they would reinstitute the stay that's in place until we sort everything out.
Great. Well, if you haven't already, please take a look at the comments below and visit us at americansprosperity.org and click Take Action so you can take action on this. It's incredibly important. As I talk to friends and activists and family, there are many, many people concerned about this, business owners and workers alike. Congressman, thank you so much for leading on this, for being a champion on this important issue, on this executive overreach. We have branches of Congress and checks and balances for a reason, and it's incredibly important that you and your colleagues reassert that authority to make sure that power is where it's supposed to be and not all in the executive. So we thank you so much for your leadership on this and appreciate your time today, and encourage everyone watching to take action in the comments, and want to thank everybody for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kent and Ashley. And I'd just like to say one thing. And for those courageous members of Congress that have already signed on to that, and Senator Manchin and Senator Tester, maybe you want to send them a thank you and let them know you appreciate them taking the right stand. And you know what? Once we get Democrats on this, probably ought to thank them too, because you talk about who's in control and the checks and balances. It's your government. It's your government. It's for the American people that we work. You know, we work for the American people, and I intend to make sure that what we do, the work we do, leaves the power where it belongs, and that is with the citizens of the United States of America.
Well said. Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate your time today. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you. Bye.